If you ever seen Kendrick Lamar's wife, she looked like she could be Drake's sister. And then, for Rick Ross to be white boy this and white boy that, but like that white boy that you're talking about, he looks like every woman that you want to mess with, number one. Number two, all of your most hottest records, that white boy is the one that made him hot. So y'all can miss me with this white boy thing. I feel like, they find a sore spot and that's all they can kind of use. You cannot knock Drake's talent. You cannot knock Drake's consistency. You cannot knock Drake's version of his creativity and his usage of words and his ability to be pop and be R&B and be reggae. Like,
so sit back and relax. That's scary. Melanie P. Talk to him. With Melanie P. That's scary with Melanie P. Come on.
Welcome to another episode of the That's Scary with Melanie P podcast. I'm your girl, Melanie P, and we are here with another episode, y'all. Listen, before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers, y'all, and I'm very, very appreciative. To my returning subscribees, welcome, and to everyone brand new, welcome as well. I am glad to have you. Today, we are talking about Drake and Kendrick Lamar and the beef around the industry. Now, I don't typically do the male beef, but I guess, they were a little bit jealous of some of the girls having the beef and taking the limelight. So here we go. This is going to be Drake and Kendrick Lamar, Cliff Notes for Dummies, pent down, right? So I did some research and I got some background information. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you, my thoughts on who I feel like, my thoughts on who I feel like actually won the hip hop battle currently going on with Drake and Kendrick Lamar. All right, y'all, here's something you might not know about what is currently going on with Kendrick Lamar and Drake. So when I was doing my research, I found some really interesting information. When I was doing my research, I found some really, really interesting facts and information that I think people may not know. I think the average person may not know, especially my girlies. You may not know where this beef started. You would be very interested to know that way back in 2011, when Drake was out, he was doing his thing. He had his first album. He was very successful. He came out of nowhere and he was topping the charts. He heard some of Kendrick Lamar's raps, some of his lyrics, and he was very, very impressed. Now, at this time, Kendrick Lamar was really a nobody, especially in comparison to Drake. He was kind of just getting his foot in the door. He did not have an album, but he was kind of like, just starting and just kind of getting his feet into the industry. Drake heard his lyrics, and long story short, he really wanted to help him get his foot in the door. Drake, he actually asked Kendrick Lamar to come on tour with him, right? Now, again, at this time, this is when Drake first came in the game back in 2011, and he was everywhere. Listen, when I first heard Drake, I was a fan. I still am a big fan of Drake, and I think that I'm a fan for a lot of the reasons why some of the other rappers kind of try to come for him, because I like his versatility, and I love, he will sing, he will rap, he'll go a little bit pop, he'll go hardcore, and I like the dimension, and I like the just the options that you get with him. You get a little bit of it all, right? So anyway, when Drake first came out, he was extremely popular, and he's really been popular ever since then because he's been very consistent in the rap game. He asked Kendrick Lamar to come on tour with him. Now, if you go back to tweets back in 2011, you will see how Kendrick Lamar and Drake spoke so highly of each other. You'll see tweets from Kendrick Lamar saying that, that he was so surprised to see how genuine and how cool of a guy that Drake was. You'll see a lot of tweets from Drake saying how he was very much a fan of Kendrick Lamar, and he just wanted to kind of introduce him, to the rap game and to the hip hop game. And that I'm gonna come back on that because that kind of sets the tone of where my thoughts and opinions are in this beef. So like I said, Drake welcomed Kendrick to the hip hop game. He was constantly congratulating him on social media and on Twitter. And this was really before, like I said, Kendrick Lamar had any album. He didn't have any album out, but Drake was just a fan of his talent. So one of the common denominators in this story is that Drake has always kind of I don't want to say usher, but he did kind of usher him in, but he's always been supportive of Kendrick Lamar. And I feel like Kendrick Lamar, as soon as he got a little bit of, fame or, his name kind of, getting in the industry, I feel like he kind of turned his back on Drake. So let me just kind of sum this up again. Kendrick Lamar, no album, not really a household name at all. Drake is popping off. Drake, ushered him in. He had him on his tour. He spoke so highly of him. He wanted to help him, make sure that his music was getting popping. He was tweeting his praises and congratulating him because in 2012, I think Kendrick Lamar finally dropped his album. And, you'll find tweets in 2012 from Drake just congratulating him and putting him on and promoting his music on his own social media. And it was really, really love. Now, I think from what I have read, the first thing that happened that made Kendrick and Drake kind of bump heads is So the first thing that kind of made Kendrick Lamar and Drake bump heads is if you go back to, I think it was 2012, DMX, rest his soul, he did an interview with The Breakfast Club. And in that interview, Charlamagne the God and his messy self asked DMX what his thoughts were on Drake. And DMX said that he did not like Drake. He was not a fan of Drake. He couldn't stand how Drake talked. He couldn't stand how Drake walked. He couldn't stand how he looked. I mean, he just was not a fan of Drake. And back then, this was really kind of big because he was just very adamant about how he was not a fan of Drake, right? So after that, Kendrick Lamar was actually on an interview, and the interviewer asked him what his thoughts were of the comments that DMX said about Drake. And he literally told a story about how he was on his tour bus and he heard the people in the front just cackling, laughing hysterically. And he was wondering what they were laughing at. And when he got closer and walked up to, the people laughing, he saw that they were looking at the interview of DMX talking about Drake negatively. And he said that when he got closer and he saw it and he saw that everybody was laughing, he started laughing because he thought that was so funny. He was just making this big deal that he thought it was so funny. Well, I feel like Drake did not like that. And I feel like that kind of goes into his whole, light skin, soft kind of stereotype that people have about Drake. He didn't like it. And maybe I would agree that that was kind of a soft kind of feeling to have about someone laughing at you. But here's the thing to me that saves Drake and, validates his feelings. When you look back at Kendrick Lamar beginning his career, Drake was very much supportive. Drake was very much helping him, promoting him, speaking positively of him, doing whatever he could to help put him on. So there should be a sense of loyalty in my book that Kendrick Lamar should have towards Drake. Now, I understand that people might say it's a part of the game, not a big deal. He made a joke and he was laughing. But to me, the shit is not funny. I can understand it. If somebody is talking shit about me and saying how much they cannot stand how I look, how I smell, how I walk, anything about me. And then someone that I fuck with is laughing at that, and actually not even laughing, but telling the story about how others was laughing and he was laughing. I would not like that either. I would not like that either. Another point that I want to put on, just to, again, validate Drake's feelings is that Drake will tell you, and he said in an interview back then that, his management at the time did not want Kendrick Lamar and A$AP Rocky on his tour. And he had to really fight his management to, push to have Kendrick Lamar and A$AP Rocky on his tour back in 2011. So again, it really shows that Drake was really, being a dude's dude, and he was advocating for Kendrick Lamar. Once that interview came out where Kendrick Lamar was kind of laughing and, making kind of a big deal about DMX's comments about Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and I think A$AP Rocky premiered on a song, and that was literally the last time that Drake and Kendrick Lamar ever got on a song together. If you go back, there are, when Kendrick Lamar's album came out, Drake was featured on Kendrick Lamar's album, and when Drake's album came out, the first one, he actually featured Kendrick on his album, and again, nod to Drake, Kendrick wasn't really a household name at that time, but he fucked with him, he fucked with his lyrics, and he fucked with his talent, and he put him on his record. And then Kendrick kind of, returned the favor and put him on his record and spoke highly of him. So it's kind of messed up to see, where they are and how it kind of unfolded. Drake and Kendrick Lamar are very, very, very different artists. And as I was reading and going more and more into, just understanding this beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, I feel like what is happening here, in my opinion, is a fight for number one. Because I think the nail in the coffin was Kendrick Lamar came out with another album, and he actually named Meek Mill, he named Drake, he named like maybe J. Cole, maybe 3 other big rap artists. And he said, no shade, I'm putting it in my words, no shade, but y'all are good, but I'm gonna be better, and I'm here to kill y'all, in the rap game. And everyone that he listed in that lyric gave him props, understood, they wasn't tripping about it, except for Drake. Drake didn't like that yet again Kendrick Lamar was naming his, naming his name in, I guess, a kind of battle way, I feel like Kendrick Lamar's energy towards Drake was very much kind of business. And I think that Drake was thinking that they were developing a friendship. And that's just my thoughts on it. Like I said, the last song that Kendrick Lamar, A$AP Rocky, and Drake did was You Fucking For Free. That was the last song they did. And it was a wrap after that. I want to go back, y'all, because I want to say that consistently Drake tried to show Kendrick Lamar love. I mean, he really tried to show him love. He really tried to show him respect. Even when they were beefing, he still tried to shout him out on social media or shout out. Like, it was one clip where he was shouting him out even after their back and forth beef, because you have to understand, they have been having back and forth rap subliminal beefs since 2012, and it's 2024. So this is nothing new. Like, I literally thought that this was something kind of new, but this has been going on since 2012 when Kendrick Lamar first came out. So they now have a diss record, right? You have Drake with Drop and Give Me 50, and you have Kendrick Lamar with Euphoria. Now, I'm not going to get into, the lines and all of those details, but I am going to say that I don't think either person won. I think that it was really a tie. When you look at the lyrics in the song Drop and Give Me 50, and then when you look at the lyrics in the song Euphoria, they speak to each rapper's, style. Kendrick Lamar is more so of a creative lyricist, in my opinion. And I think Drake is more so of a mainstream, you'll play his song on your, Spotify fit, a workout playlist. You will hear his song in the club. You're not going to go to no club and not hear a Drake song. His is more mainstream. I think Kendrick Lamar is more kind of creative. And I think that I think it was a tie. Now, if I had to choose who won, I would have to say Drake. And I'm going to say Drake because I feel like Drake, that song, when I heard it, to me is something that I would play even if it wasn't a disc record. It's something that I would add to my Spotify playlist. I can't say that I would add Euphoria to my Spotify playlist. I am a fan of Kendrick Lamar as well. I love both of their music. I really, really do. But if I had to choose one, I'm going to choose Drake. Drop and Give Me 50. Now, here to me is the irony of all of this. In Euphoria, Kendrick Lamar talks a lot of Kendrick Lamar and Rick Ross. I think I mentioned this on another video, but Kendrick Lamar and Rick Ross speak about calling Drake a white boy, speak about, he don't need to use the N-word, coming for just his, biracialness, trying to use that as a dig. And here's my thing about that. And this is no shade. This is really, really no shade. But Drake, and in his biracialness, looks like every woman that Kendrick Lamar's wife, I mean, they've been together since high school. But Kendrick Lamar and his wife look like they could be brother and sister. If you ever seen Kendrick Lamar's wife, she looked like she could be Drake sister. And then, for Rick Ross to be white boy this and white boy that, and I said this before on another video, but like that white boy that you're talking about, he looks like every woman that you want to mess with, number one. Number two, all of your most hottest records, that white boy is the one that made him hot. So y'all can miss me with this white boy thing. I feel like, they find a sore spot and that's all they can kind of use. You cannot knock Drake's talent. You cannot knock Drake's consistency. You cannot knock Drake's version of his creativity and his usage of words and his ability to be pop and be R&B and be reggae. Like he can literally, and he says it in his Drop and Give Me 50, like he's in Japan and y'all barely like leaving the States. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I understand from a rap beef standpoint that, people want that number one spot. And the only way to get that number one spot is to go for the person that you feel is your biggest competitor and is currently number one. So coming at it from that standpoint, I understand why, Kendrick Lamar feels so inclined to consistently come for someone who helped him and, who helped him and ushered him into the industry. But I just stand 10 toes down in saying that there should be some level of loyalty. But is there loyalty in rap battle? I mean, I guess that's kind of an oxymoron. But again, this whole white boy thing, like it'd be one thing if the Kendrick Lamars and I feel like Kendrick Lamar is what you would call a conscious rapper. So I think he does rap about the culture and, from a consciousness standpoint, but, he's just another black rapper that has a biracial wife. You know what I'm saying? Like, so with that being said, I do feel like Drake won. And I don't want to say Drake won. If I had to choose, it would be Drake. But I think that they're both equally talented. And I feel like it's probably a tie if you go through the words, the lyrics, the energy of Euphoria versus Drop and Give Me 50. So that was kind of the cliff notes of the beef between Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Let me know who you thought won the beef. Let me know if you agree or disagree with what I said. I want to start a conversation in the comments below, y'all. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next episode.